Hey guys, Mark Eppley here again with Eppley Legal Group, and today we're going to be talking about a very serious topic, and that is domestic violence. I'm going to give you some tips on what to do if you are a victim of domestic violence. So stay tuned, but we have some good answers and some good information for you coming right up. The holidays are coming up. Thanksgiving is just a few days away. Christmas is about a month away. And generally, around the holidays, people have in-laws, friends, and other family members come to town either to stay with or to spend some time with. And for some reason, ultimately, some of those parties get a little bit out of hand. People tend to drink way more than they should, say things that they don't mean, and unfortunately we get into a situation where at times people take advantage of others and abuse them, either verbally, mentally, emotionally, financially, or today we're talking about physical violence. Whether violence is at the hand of a spouse, a boyfriend, a girlfriend, or a parent, none of it ever is tolerable, and you don't need to tolerate it either. There are some pointers that I will give you in regard to being a victim of domestic violence. I have had an opportunity to represent people who are victims of domestic violence, and I will tell you their stories are all different, but they're all the same. And they end in heartbreak, and they end in tears, and they end in people feeling like they are less than who they are supposed to be. We are all human beings, and for somebody to raise a hand at another individual is not only disgusting and despicable, it's downright intolerable. You're a victim of domestic violence. The first thing that you need to do is, if you can, is to leave the situation. Too many times we ask and have victims who try to get the abuser out of the house, out of the car, out of wherever they may be enclosed, and ultimately that ends up being a result of being abused or beaten more. The next thing that you need to try to do is to find a safe spot that you can go, whether that's a neighbor's house, a friend's house, or somebody who you trust. Don't ever be afraid to call the police. Too many times we get into a situation where we don't believe that the police will help us out, or we don't believe that we need to contact the police to help us in a situation. The reality is that abuse doesn't stop. Just because one person may have done it once to you in the past is not an indication that they won't do it again in the future. There are remedies that you have if you are a victim of domestic abuse. The first is to file a protection order. Those can be done through generally the domestic relations court of the county where you reside. Ohio is nice in the sense that Ohio allows for there to be a protection order, A, where you reside, B, where the children reside if your children are members or victims of domestic violence, or C, if you are leaving a county and fleeing to that county, then that county allows for you to also file for protection under the law. You want to make sure that you define exactly and describe exactly what happened that evening. Sometimes it's best to put dates on the actual events if you can remember what happened on that specific date. But be careful about putting dates on there, because if you put specific dates, then a prosecutor or the attorney that represents the other side may specifically ask you about that date in question, and if your timelines don't match up, that may be problematic. The court is designed to protect you and to protect your family members. Now, it's not possible for the courts generally to protect a third party who is over the age of 18. That person would have to protect themselves through filing a protection order in and of their own individual nature. But you want to make sure that you put down exactly what happened. If you went to the hospital, that's always a good idea too, especially if there are bruises or if you don't feel like your body's 100%. Check yourself into the hospital. Too many times we have victims who believe that that they don't need to go to the hospital because they're embarrassed to say anything. Don't be embarrassed. Men as well as women are victims of domestic violence, and that is an important thing to keep in mind. Men, I know sometimes you may have already tuned this video out, but the reality is that men are victims of domestic violence as well. and it's not tolerable. It's not even in the remote possibility of being natural or being excused. Domestic violence is a very serious problem. If you believe that you are a victim of domestic violence, you need to take the proper actions immediately. That's in obtaining court orders. Now, our office handles and represents victims of domestic violence. There are other shelters. There are women's shelters. There are men's shelters. There are battered women's shelters. There are organizations like Women Helping Women and others around the area that specifically help victims of domestic violence. The cycle is not going to stop, and whether you believe it is or not, the ultimate truth is that it doesn't. If you leave, make sure you take your children with you. They may not want to go, they may kick and scream, and your spouse or your boyfriend or your girlfriend may try to hold them hostage. Get out of that situation and go and find yourself help. The courts are there. Our office is there to help as well. Feel free to call us at 513-621-MARK or 513-621-6275. You can even email me at mark, M-A-R-K, at EppleyLegalGroup.com. Trust me, we will make you feel right at home. We'll make you understand that this is not a natural occurrence, and we'll hold your hand if we have to through the entire process. But nobody deserves to be a victim. Not you, not your children, not anybody. We're here to help. We hope you don't find yourself in that situation, but if you do, give us a call. We'll take care of you.